Florida Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna and Missouri Senator Eric Schmitt. Great to see you both. Thank you so much for being here. And Congresswoman, I want to start with you because the DOJ said it will not prosecute Merrick Garland over these contempt of Congress charges. They sent a letter to Speaker Johnson. Your next move in the House.
Yeah, so actually several months ago, I introduced a resolution for something called inherent contempt of Congress. So this is something that Congress has the authority to do, and it hasn't been done since the early 1900s. And essentially what that does is I anticipated that the Department of Justice would not do their job. And so I had this really teed up and ready to go. I've brought this to Speaker Johnson's attention. And what that allows Congress to do is really be the punitive arm and really hold Garland accountable by using the sergeant at arms to essentially go and get him as well as the tapes, bring him to the wall of the House, and really be a check and balance on the Department of Justice. Again, this hasn't been done since the early 1900s, but that vote will be coming to the floor, and hopefully we will be able to bring some accountability. I know that if this goes to courts, as Johnson has stated, that's really going to get stuck there. It's not going to do anything, and the American people deserve more than strongly worded letters. I think we're all frustrated, and so again, we're hoping to bring that accountability.
Well, I know that in the actual transcript of the special counsel interview with President Biden, in the written transcript, the ums and the ahs were edited out. Are there any other worries that you have? I mean, why must you hear the audio tapes that you didn't get from the transcript? Was it doctored in any way?
I believe that it's possible that it has been doctored, but I also think, Maria, that it's really going to show the American people whether or not Biden is actually capable of making those decisions. Remember, we have a foreign policy debacle right now. We have Russian warships off of our coast, and if he's not able to stand fit as president, I don't think that he's going to be the nominee this November. I think that's why Democrats are trying to protect him and the DOJ.
So you don't think he's going to be the nominee?
Not if these tapes come out, no, Maria. I think that they have big problems, and I think that his cognitive inability is the number one issue for them currently.
Senator, what do you think about all of this? And walk us through your meeting with President Trump this week. How did it go? You came out of that meeting, and Republicans, yourself and J.D. Vance and others in the Senate announced a blockade of Biden nominees to protest the lawfare against President Trump. Tell us more.
Yeah, look, we're going to use every procedural tool we have in the Senate to slow things down and block these nominees. I mean, the Department of Justice has been fully weaponized, not just against President Trump, but the American people. And so, unlike, them working outside the law, we're going to work within the rules. But this is a response. There has to be a response. We cannot allow our country to descend into a banana republic. These two tiers of justice that you see under the Biden administration, willing to put political opponents in jail, censor Americans, usher in an invasion, try to convert them to voters. This is all on the watch of the Biden administration. This is their plan. So President Trump, I think, offered a very sharp contrast. He was very optimistic. He was talking about unity. He was talking about winning. He's talking about saving this country. He's talking about, how the record, I think, Maria, it's important for people to understand, for the first time in anybody's lifetime, we have an opportunity to judge two presidents on their record. Normally, it's a president versus, a challenger or an open seat. Now we have two records, and you put President Trump's record on, having a secure border, not being involved in any wars, an economy that worked for working families as opposed to this high inflation, high prices. You compare that to what Americans are living through right now. I think the choice is pretty clear. So President Trump was very upbeat, very confident. I think he should be. And I think we're going to take the Senate, expand the majorities in the House, and win the White House.
Well, I mean, look, from a legal perspective, Senator, do you see similarities between what happened to Trump officials and what now Biden is saying? I mean, Biden's saying he's using executive privilege to hold those audio tapes back. And yet, isn't Peter Navarro in jail right now for using executive privilege about the subpoena on January 6th? Steve Bannon about to go to prison for similar reasons? I mean, from a legal perspective, is this the same?
Now, look, they have clearly delineated. I mean, this is what you get with Soviet-style show trials we saw in New York and a sort of reward friends and punish enemies that you see in other places of the world that our State Department, if it were happening in other places, would warn us about. It's happening here. And that's why Merrick Garland ought to be held in contempt. It's why, with the Hunter Biden case, for example, I mean, people were trying to draw some parallel there. He was lied on a form, was on crack buying a gun. As a former prosecutor, that's a slam dunk case. What people forget is they tried to hide a sweetheart deal in a pre-detention document, not even a plea deal, to give him immunity from all prosecution in all other cases against the United States of America. Thankfully, the judge asked questions. So that's just one example, again, of how their friends are treated differently than their enemies. It is an incredibly dangerous road to go down for this republic, Maria. You didn't see that under President Trump. All the claims that they make, these threats to democracy, they're actually doing. President Trump didn't do that. And I think the American people are rejecting this, and why I think he's going to win big this November.
Well, Congresswoman Anna, your colleague Andy Biggs has released a timeline which he says proves that Joe Biden's direct collusion with prosecutors was the reason that President Trump was indicted. And this is something that John Ratcliffe has said on this program many times, that people like Alvin Bragg, Letitia James, Fani Willis, Michael Colangelo all met with White House counsel before actually indicting President Trump. Andy Biggs says he's got the timeline. He's got a graphic here going through all the meetings that he says took place in 2022. What do you know about this?
Well, I can tell you that Andy Biggs is on it. And also, too, I think people forget that Pomerantz was also number 3 at Biden's Department of Justice that was actually sent down to New York to oversee that trial. And so when people say that, oh, no, there's no possibility that this is corrupt, I actually turn around and show them these facts, just like Andy Biggs had presented. This administration is really using the Department of Justice to go after their political opponents because they know that Trump's going to win. They know that the American people, even starting with the withdrawal in Afghanistan, realize that Biden has no foreign policy, that we're a mess right now. And I frankly think that the reason why President Trump is going to win big, he was actually joking about this on Thursday, is that every single time they indict him, he goes up in the polls. And so we're looking forward towards that win in November. But when I say that we do need to bring accountability, and Congress needs to get serious about not funding these weaponized institutions, I really mean it. And we're hoping to bring that inherent contempt vote again once we return. And hopefully that will be the check and balance that we need.
Well, look,
Maria,
of this. Yes, go ahead, Senator.
I was going to make a point, too. And I think this is what is also important to understand to piggyback off the representative's point. In November of 2022, Biden gives some comments, a speech, talking about he's going to use all legal means necessary to keep Donald Trump out of the White House. After that, you saw Fani Willis, you saw Jack Smith, you saw Letitia James, you saw Alvin Bragg. These zombie cases were resurrected to keep Trump off the ballot, or to sort of get Trump. So this clearly goes back to Joe Biden. And again, the American people are going to reject this. This is not in our DNA, but they're so obsessed with power and control, they're willing to do anything to keep it.
Well, maybe, but at the end of the day, it's about who counts the votes, right? What are your thoughts on a fair and free election? You've got the RNC launching a massive effort to monitor voting. Are they doing enough?
I believe so. We have two.
Go ahead,
Go ahead, sir.
No, please, go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say that, we have an overhaul at the RNC. President Trump actually made a point to talk about this when he was up visiting with us in Washington. But, we have to have accountability. We have to have massive ballot harvesting operations, and also to ensuring that there are people there to monitor, as well as attorneys on the ground that are prepared to bring lawsuit in the event that we see people acting shady. And so I do feel very confident as someone who's very much so akin to that we're in good shape for this November.
Senator, final word.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the Republicans have sort of gotten the memo now. We need to make sure people vote on Election Day. And if they can vote before then, we want to encourage that to make sure all those votes are banked. There's so much on the line for this country, and we got to win.
Yeah, early voting starts mid-September. Thank you both, Anna Paulina Luna, Eric Schmitt. Great to have you both. Thanks so much. Stay with us. We'll be right back.